Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. Alright, on the altruism and irrationality, I just wanted to make a parallel to the people who mess around with A is A. They say that the axiom A is A can be restated A equals A. And that's not true. The law of identity says that a thing is itself. It's not equal to itself, it is itself. And not A equals A. It's A is A. Very specifically and for a very specific reason. Now, what about... Get some local basketball players walking by. Can you guys hear that? Don't worry about them. What about irrationality and altruism? Where is there an example of altruism that's not irrational? Where is there an example of irrationality that an altruist couldn't do being guided by altruism? If we can't make any distinctions with that, we have to put an equal sign between them. Altruism equals irrationality. We have to put an equal sign. Now, we haven't stepped so far as to put an is. We're not saying is. We're not saying altruism and irrationality are identical. They are not identical phenomenon, perhaps. But we are saying that they are equivalent. Now, are you sure we can't say they're identical? Haven't we made this case? If I'm right, then you cannot describe any action as altruistic unless you're also going to describe it as irrational. That's what my if I'm right, that's what would be implied. That's what you would be obligated to do in the future, ladies and gentlemen, if you understand the integration that I'm making here. You will now use the words altruism and irrationality interchangeably. This will be very informative for you. Okay? You will look at situations where people do irrational things. And you will realize now, these things were done by the Soviets and the Nazis. These irrational things. Okay? This is going to be a tool for integration for you. If you are not on the same page with me yet and you're stepping onto this page. If you were already on this page, congratulations. I haven't found any objectivists that are already on this page. Altruism means irrationality. Irrationality is always consistent with altruism. 100% of the time, every act which you could call irrational is consistent with altruism. Every act of altruism is irrational. Okay? So, ancient societies that hadn't discovered math and science and whatever ran on random things, not on the narrow path of logic and science, right? The narrow path of logic and science where you constantly correct and every day you check and make sure and test. Forget all that. They prayed, they had temples, they followed their societal norms, their societies collapsed and grew and collapsed and grew. It was chaos. It was chaos for hundreds of thousands of years, or tens of thousands of years anyway. During this time, all of their societies were not egoistic. Why is that? Because it's just one form of irrationality or another is equivalent to one form of altruism or another. They are not separable. This way, in this way only, we can appreciate the anthropological history of altruism. The anthropological history of altruism is very strange. It confused Richard Dawkins because he said, well, if every single society, bar none, through all of history, without a single exception, come up with altruist codes, then it must be the case that that is inherently right. Mr. Cropper posits that altruism is simply the absence of reason. Altruism is simply the absence of reason. That's all you need to get altruism. For reason to sleep. That's all you need to get altruism. That's Mr. Cropper's case.